Katie of the Greenland Quilter, and I want to welcome everyone to the live tonight. This is our second episode of Peace of Mind Mending Pieces, and we have two guests. We have Dani, of course, and my friend Myra. And I'm going to introduce Dani first, so Dani can tell you all about her channel, and then afterwards, I'm going to introduce Myra, and Myra's going to tell you a little bit about herself and how she's going to help us with this live tonight, because she has a toolkit of her own. And I think between all of us having this good conversation about a very touchy subject is going to help us along in this discussion. So, Dani, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and let me spotlight you so you're where everybody can see you.
Well, thank you, Katie, for inviting me, and I apologize in advance to everybody that knows who I am and knows what I normally sound like. I have been suffering from a cold for the last 2 weeks now, so my voice is a little gravelly. I do have a tendency to cough quite a bit, so I might be a little bit quieter than normal, and I apologize for that. But as Katie said, my name is Dani, and I run the So Not an Expert YouTube channel over here on YouTube as well, where we make a lot of really fun projects and we hang out. And you know, the goal of my channel has always not been to make friends and hang out with friends. If we make a project in the meantime, that's great too. But the goal of my channel is just to hang out with a bunch of quilty sewing friends and learn something new from them. And Katie, you and I have become friends over the last couple of years, and we kind of share some things in common. And we felt that this was a topic that needs to be talked about. It needs to be have an open forum for people to comment and be able to express what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And you and I can express what we're feeling and what we're thinking. I am no stranger to mental health issues myself, and I've been open about it on my channel, about my struggles on what I do to help myself. And now that's what works for me. That may or may not be what works for you. You have to find, you, yourself, and your medical professional need to figure out what works best for you. But we can at least tell you what worked for us and maybe give you some additional tools, as Katie said, in your toolkit. So I am going to apologize. I'm going to be probably a little bit quieter than I normally am, and that's just because I have a tendency to start coughing as soon as that happens. I have an upper respiratory infection and a sinus infection and all kinds of stuff going on. I'm all kinds of a mess. So I apologize for that. But welcome everyone, and I hope that we end up having as great of a conversation as we did the last time. I felt that it was a safe place for everybody to come to and to talk about things. And this particular series that we're working on is a safe place, but my channel is also a safe place. Katie's channel, no matter which one you're on, is always a safe place. We encourage that. So don't feel like you only have to participate in this series in order to be a part of this community and a part of our channels. You can follow us over there as well and watch us over there too.
That's exactly right, because that's what we're trying to do here is get a community started for this additional thing. You know, we have a quilting community and everything, but what me and Dani are trying to do is get people to understand that if they do need to talk, our channels are a safe place to do it in. And you can speak freely, and I'm not going to kick you out. She's not going to kick you out when you need to talk. So that's what we're here for. Okay.
As long as everyone is respectful and respects each other and each other's feelings and emotions, then you're absolutely right. No one's ever going to be asked to leave.
Yep, exactly. Okay, I'm going to spotlight my friend Myra, and y'all have heard me call her, seen me call her Sissy in the chat. She's my sister too, not biological, but we might as well have been, because we I think we've been best friends for what, 20 years at least. And when I've needed help, when I've been, when she sees that I'm struggling, she's messaged me and says, "What can I do?" She saw that I was having a bad time last week, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I want to introduce her. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself. She's also going to tell you how she can help talk about this discussion, because she has lots of experience, not only personally, but as well professionally. So go ahead, Myra.
Hi, everybody. I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm just me. Just Katie's friend and sister by heart. We've known each other more than 23 years, and I know it's that long because today's my 23rd wedding anniversary. And I knew
Happy
her before.
anniversary.
Thank you. And I knew her before I married my husband. So we know that it's at least 23 years plus.
Yep.
And I do have some mental health issues of my own. I deal with depression and anxiety and OCO. For those of you that have ever looked in the DSM-4 or 5, which is a mental health professional's handbook, Bible, whatever, OCO won't be found in there. OCD is in there as obsessive compulsive disorder, but I have OCO. I have coined that term. That is mine because it's an opportunity to do things right. It's not a disorder in my life. And it doesn't touch everywhere. It only touches, certain things like it does with anybody else. That's about me personally. I do live here in Florida, and I want to know where Robin Marie is in Florida. I'm in Central Florida, and yes, it's storming here. So I don't know how long I'll be on, but while I can, I'll be here. Professionally, I retired officially December the 28th, but I don't feel like I'm retired because I am every other month. I'm the full-time caregiver for my 91-year-old mother up in the Panhandle. And so I live a month with my husband in Central Florida, and I live a month in the Panhandle with my mom and my grandchildren. I have grandchildren up in the Panhandle, so that's an added benefit. Professionally, I am a licensed clinical social worker. That is a mental health professional. I'm a therapist. I'm a counselor. I've been doing that for over 20 plus years. 17 of it with the Veterans Administration. 10 years of that 17. I was the suicide prevention coordinator for Corporate Orlando's VA, which encompassed 6 counties. So this is a subject near and dear to my heart. The only tattoo I have on my body is that little one right there. It's a semicolon. It means my story isn't over yet. I have been suicidal in my life. I have made one contemplation. I don't say one attempt because I couldn't find anything, any pills. I didn't have any in my house at that time.
I get that. I get that.
So, I never actually attempted, but boy, did I contemplate it. And for me, only for me, not pushing it off on you, but the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, yeah, you can do this. But I have some abuse of my children in my history, not by me, but by someone else. And so I climbed down off the counter, and I did not continue to search to try to harm myself. But that was probably one of the darkest times of my life. I am a 23-year breast cancer survivor. My husband married me uniboobed and bald. Y'all mull that one over. I was diagnosed while we were dating.
God bless him.
Yes, that's why I call him Mr. Wonderful. Seriously.
Yep. She does call him that.
Yes.
Well, you have your Heartlight. I have my Mr. Wonderful.
That's right.
And I have my
and
Mr.
it's both
Wizard.
true. So I'm here today, not as any of your therapists, not as a mental health professional. I'm here as a friend and a mentor and a buddy. I do have my sweet Lillian, my featherweight Lillian, and I don't think I'll probably end up sewing because I don't talk and do things with my hands real well. I'm not that coordinated. I am in awe of you all that do, but I may or may not. What I'm working on actually is card holders. Can y'all see that? So you cut out your fabric, and then you sew a seam around, or you sew a seam around it, and you gather it, and you put that a piece of, oh, sorry, I didn't know I was gonna. I didn't know I was going to tell you all about that, but then you put a piece of
You're
batting.
okay. Go on. Go with the flow. Go with it.
Okay. And so then you put, gather it, you put batting there, and then you put a CD right there.
Oh.
And you do 2 of them. Ah, am I making anybody dizzy yet? You do 2 of them, and then you put a button. I use a button, and then you just, stack your cards in.
That is so neat.
It's great for small children. It's great for 91-year-old people. It's great for people with cerebral palsy that don't have good dexterity in their hand. And that's what I gave everybody for Christmas in my family. I do a lot of not quilting per se, though I have quilted something else. One Christmas I did table runners for everybody.
Oh, that's so cool.
Very pretty.
I will never work with plaid again, not ever.
No, it's stressful. Yeah.
I'm Scottish. I am Scottish. I am a princess. My great 12 or 17 grandmother was the sister of Robert the Bruce and Edward. Edward was King of Ireland, and Robert the Bruce, as some may know, was King of Scotland. So yes, I'm a princess in so many more ways than one. But
She
so
is.
I think we all are in some ways.
She is.
So what I'm here to do today is just to shut up. Number one, I've been talking a lot, but just interject when people have questions. I do have a lot of tools and coping skills personally and professionally that I can share if anyone wants to know about safety plans, about myths surrounding suicide, what to do if you have a friend that's suicidal, some myths around what not to do or what to do, and just I'm here to just share because this is my passion. Even though I'm no longer with the VA, I still pro bono volunteer with the Red Cross services to the armed forces because it's important to give back. And all but about a year or 2 of my life, I've been attached to a military member. My husband is 21 years Navy retired. Daddy was 21 years Air Force retired. And I was a child active duty with him, and my children's father was active duty. And so you put veterans, active military, and suicide prevention together in it, and that's really my heart after my family and my relationship with God. But anyway, so I'm going to shut up.
There's no shut up around here.
No, there's not.
Yep, we're not going to tell anyone to shut up. But anyway, thank you for telling everybody about yourself. And I've been looking forward to this because I know you have a lot more of a toolkit that I don't have much of a toolkit, which you're aware of. So let me say hello to everybody in the channel. There's also been some comments about happy anniversary to Myra. Let me say hello to Robin and Sherry. She says going to be listening while watching a movie. That's funny. I do that all the time. And then there is Melissa and Misty and Robin and Julie, Teresa Louise. Let me see.
Lori.
Joyce Fernandez. Hello, Janice. Welcome. Hello, Denise S. Hello, Joyce Hernandez. Yeah, I already said that, didn't I? Susan, hi. Hi, Robin. Let me see. Hello, Lori Colgan. Welcome. Let me see if I got every. Hey, Laura Sup. And several have said happy anniversary to Myra. And then also Susan said, which is kind of sad, yes, you are blessed. My husband divorced me because he didn't want to help me pay for my medical debt after my breast cancer treatment. That is so sad. I'm so sorry.
So sorry. And that is so terrible. Common. That is so common. Many men run away from their loved ones because they can't handle it. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so, so sorry. And for Robin being outside of Ocala, I was driving around the back roads of Ocala on my way home because I took a detour and went down a road less traveled. I often do that when I'm coming home because I like to go places I've never been. And so I was deep in the heart of Ocala country, and it's so beautiful back there. And I went to the Murphy and got gas there. But anyway, so we're not far, and I hope if you ever make it over to Quilted Twins in Dade City, which is the nearest quilt shop to me, and I personally love all those people at Quilted Twins, and I don't get paid to shout out to them. They're just personal friends as well as quilty friends. But if you ever get to Dade City to Quilted Twins, let me know and I'll meet you for lunch, Robin. That would be so cool.
They have one heck of a
That would be
shop,
cool.
that's for sure. My
they do.
goodness, I've never seen so much fabric, and they have a huge boutique selection, which I'm like drooling the whole time I'm in there. But anyway, so now let me see. Just wait, someone made a comment up here. Melissa said that they are 22 years Army retired.
Wow, good for
Oh.
them.
That's so
My
cool.
second husband was 20 years Army retired, and I was married to him for 2 years. It was an out of body experience. I was out of my effing mind.
Uh-oh. As to the sound going up and down, is it just Myra's going up and down, or is it all of ours going up and down so that I know whether it's Zoom or not? Someone tell me if it's it all of us or just Myra. And if it's just Myra, just please ignore it because it's a setting we need to fix. And I don't know what setting to fix. And don't feel bad, Myra. This is first time doing this. Paid the rent at the door, says Joyce. Thank you so much. I don't know
Thanks
what
for that, Joyce.
just Myra. Okay. Y'all work with us here on this because this is the first time her going live. And she's on her husband's laptop, not her own. So it's a little complicated. So you're gonna have to just be okay about it.
So
Bear with us.
We're okay.
should I?
No,
Is it?
no, leave it. We're
Okay.
gonna go on with this. We are going to adapt today. And I'm not going
There
to
we
turn
go.
this into a tech issue. So we're just going to adapt and go with this because I don't want to waste time dealing with that. We need to be talking. Okay. All right. Maxie Doodle says hi from, oh, look who's here. Someone from Pinellas County, Florida. I'm a silent sub of Katie's and thank you for this live. You're so welcome. And I thank you for being a part of my channel. And let me see, did someone else come in here? No.
Dennis.
Okay. So, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this out with a little bit of a, and Sissy's probably going to have to help me. Y'all probably seen that I've been doing a lot of lives lately and not sleeping, but doing lives. Like the last 3 nights, I've been live all night long. And last week was pretty tough. And the reason I'm having a hard time is y'all know that Nikolai went back to work. But about 4 days before he went back to work, he lost his uncle, which I consider part of our, because I loved him too.
Do your hair down, sis. Thank you.
He harmed himself, and he was about 2 years younger than me. His name was Otto, and when I found out, I just fell apart because it was like an instant reliving what my first husband had done. So y'all been seeing me burning the midnight oil a lot. It's because I can't sleep, and that's part of this whole thing of trying to get not over it. It's not going to go away, but I haven't been handling it so well, put it that way. But
that's a good way of putting it.
It really hurt to lose him because he was he wasn't like my first husband. My first husband was depressed, and we all knew he was depressed, but we never thought he would do such a thing. But this man, he was athletically active. you would see him jogging constantly. He would be out jogging, even when there was snow on the ground. And in the spring, he would participate in the Arctic Games. He was active in the community. I mean, there you would have never thought you would have thought there was nothing wrong with him. I mean, he was always smiling and stuff, and then bam, he's gone because we don't even know why. I don't know. He has a new wife of about, I think him and her have been married about 4 years now, and it was another suicide that I've been having a hard time with. So if if any of you have if this happens to you, we are all here so you can talk to us about it. And Sissy knew something was up with me because she messaged me and she's like, what's going on? And when I told her, she figured it was something bad for me to be doing this. And she's known me for such a long time. So and then, of course, we have our environment going on around us on top of that. So a lot of us probably are having a hard time right now, even dealing with what's going on in everyday life right now. So I would like to know how some of you are handling what's going on around you with your and along with, talk to us. Tell us what you want. If you have questions to ask them. Let's start a conversation. And we have more coming in. Hey, Robin. Hey, Laura. I already said hi to Laura. It was Sandy. Hello. And okay. All right. So what should we talk about first? Anyone I put a poll up here, by the way. So let's talk about the poll first. The poll says, do you feel there's lack of discussion about mental health due to it being taboo? How do we change it? And I want y'all to comment in the channel of what you think needs to happen to change this taboo about talking about mental health. What's your point of view on that? And so far, 71% say yes to this, and 24% say no, and 6% says, how can we fix it? Share it in chat. So let's talk about how we can fix it. Anyone?
Yeah, for sure.
Myra, are you there or are you frozen?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to be very respectful of anybody that wants to type or review too, because you guys are the old pros.
Yep, you can jump in anytime you want. There's no rules here except to be nice to each other, and everybody's nice to each other in here. Okay.
Well, so Katie, not to throw. I know that you're struggling with your own stuff there, and so I just not to diminish that at all. You obviously you're working with something that's very personal to you. But just to throw this out there that this is an ongoing situation and that everyone can be affected by it. My daughter, I've talked about it before, I have twin daughters. One of my daughters is studying, she's actually interning with the police department right now. She's decided she wants to work in the police department. She hasn't decided which area she wants to work in. And so she's been interning in all kinds of different ones. And a couple weeks ago, she was interning in the crime investigation unit. She was there for 2 weeks. She spends 2 weeks in every unit. And the last day, she said the 2 weeks was real fun. She had to, investigate some robberies and some car accidents and some burglaries and some things like that. But the very last day, she got called to a scene. There was a death investigation. And it was turned out to be someone had harmed themselves. It was a student at her school. And it turned out that not only was it a student at her school, but it was a student in the apartment complex that she lives in across from her. So while she doesn't necessarily live with my daughter has her own struggles as well. And so that, just like you, Katie, that kind of threw her for a loop, because not only was she part of the investigation side of it, but then she was also part of the empathetic side of it, knowing and understanding what this poor young lady went through and why this poor young woman made this decision differently than someone else might have, maybe differently than my daughter did at one point in time, that
Yeah.
I did, that you did, you
Yeah.
know, and so she was struggling with that. And so again, not to diminish what you're going through and what you're feeling, because it's real, it's live, it's validated. But this is an ongoing thing for everybody. Everybody can be affected by this in different ways. And so, you know, especially from our perspective, and giving you even an extra dose of concern here, having been in that mental state and having had to make that decision yourself, it's a trigger, because as soon
Yep.
as someone else decided differently than you did, it's a trigger for you as well. And so it's important that we remember that it's not just a matter of empathizing with that person or you know, grieving for them, but it's also a trigger in yourself. You're basically brought right back to that place in your time, and that time in your life when you made a different decision. And now you're trying to validate that decision to yourself. I made the right choice. I'm making the right choice. I keep doing the right things. And it can be it can be a struggle for anybody. And I know that my daughter is struggling with that a little bit. You know, I'm working with her. She's working with her school counselors and her professionals and things like that. But it's something that we all get affected by in different ways. And I just want to make sure that our viewers and our listeners know that maybe you're not directly affected by something, but it's important to remember that someone who is directly affected, that it can be amplified even further than just the initial reaction. And it's important to remember that.
Yeah. When I, you know, with this, because, you know, my first husband had committed suicide, and
He
Mhm.
you
completed it.
know, it left such a, when you experience it personally with a family member, it leaves a lot of wreckage. It leaves a lot of unanswered questions of why, what, and then on top of that, you as the family member or the friend or the neighbor who you live next door to, you question your own, well, what could I have done to, could I have done something to stop this, or why didn't I know something was wrong, or uh,
Yeah.
you know, there's so many questions, and a lot of these questions can't get answered because, you know, this is, you know, when someone does this, you don't know why exactly they did it or how they came. I used to say, I used to think that maybe, and don't get mad at me, I used to think that maybe people did this because they just wanted to escape and they didn't want to take responsibility for what was going on in their life. But the longer that time goes by and I see this more prevalent happening, I'm beginning to think that it's not about that. It's about that they just come to a point where they can't deal and they don't know how to ask for help, or they don't want to ask for help. I don't know which. And then, you know,
Or in some cases, I think that I had a friend of mine who was trying to get help, but the help in their mind wasn't coming fast
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
They didn't have the patience, they didn't have the strength to see through the process, because it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. This is an ongoing process. It's not a 1 week and you're fine. This is a months, weeks, months, years into type of process. And this is not something that goes away either. This is something that there are triggers, there are things that keep coming back. It's kind of like alcoholism or drug addiction. It
yeah,
never goes away. It lessens for sure. It becomes more manageable. And I won't even say easier, I'll just say manageable, but it never goes away. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle to understand, that just because I'm doing okay today doesn't mean I won't be not doing okay tomorrow. Or just because I've been doing okay for the last year doesn't mean that something's not going to happen later on. And you know, as people who struggle with this, Katie, myself, um, it's a roller coaster. You know, you you celebrate the highs and you try to work through those lows as best as you can. And being that we know our own triggers, we can work through those things not necessarily, I wouldn't say successfully, not always, but
I'm
we've
glad
worked
you're
through them.
here.
Yeah, we're here. That's right. We're not giving it
Well,
up.
thank you.
We haven't
Exactly,
given it
exactly.
up.
But
Yeah.
right, exactly. That's true.
And we're
But
not
I
making
mean,
fun of this situation.
no,
We're
not at
saying,
all.
we're
No.
here because, like Myra pointed out, that's a successful story here because we're not giving into it. And that right
Yeah.
there, I think, when you don't give, I mean, yes, we lay in the bed too long sometimes because we're really having a bad time of it, or we're glued to the TV because we just can't function it, for a whole week or whatever your way of not coping with what's going on around you. For I call it a shutdown because that's what I call mine. I call it a total
Yeah.
shutdown. I stop doing
Yeah.
everything and just veg. I do zero. And
Yeah.
I think we all do that. And but we pull ourselves out of it at some point and we continue on with life. And to me, that's strength, because if you give into it, you're letting it beat you up. And I don't, and I'm sure everybody is this way. I would rather keep on trying to trudge forward than totally give into it and just say screw it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, the people on
so
my channel.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Myra.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd like to scroll back up and
Yeah, there's a lot of
address
comments
some of
here.
the comments if
Yeah,
y'all don't
go
mind.
for it, because I was going to
So
comment if you didn't.
So Susan, I hear you. Susan said she's trying hard not to worry about the things our government's doing. And when you figure out how to successfully traverse that, let me know.
Yep.
I think we all are, and we're not going to get into politics for America, because that's not what this channel is about. But regardless of your political stance, it's just a hard time for all Americans. I have friends that have lost their jobs. I mean, my husband's going to probably choose to retire earlier than he had planned to because of all the things going on with the government, because he also works for the VA. And it's a hard time, Susan, and we're there with you. Maxie, I want to come back to you about how to help your best friend in just a second, but I want to address Denise. Denise, if this gets triggering for you, you don't have to stay. It's okay not to stay. Please don't anybody be triggered
Yes.
by our discussion today. You're welcome to message me on Facebook. I'm very transparent and easy to find. And so, you're welcome. Anybody's welcome to, contact me, but everybody, if something is said here that's a real trigger, don't let it just be that wormhole in your ear. Leave if you need to leave, or say this is triggering me and I need help, and we'll talk to you. We'll do whatever we need to do. We'll
Walk
have a
you
little
through it. Yeah.
We'll have a 3-minute guided imagery, one of my favorite things in the world to do. And whatever we need to do, we want to take care of one another. I want to get back to Maxie about her friend, and for anybody that has friends with mental health issues, whether they've ever been diagnosed or not, or whether it's a diagnosed or a non-diagnosed mental health condition, or whether it's just in the moment caca happening in their life and they're not coping well, any of the above, don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. I've lived, breathed, ate, slept suicide prevention for so long now that I can look somebody straight in the eye and say, are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about suicide? Is this where you're at? Most people can't do that. They start off with, are you thinking about harming yourself, or do you not want to be here anymore? Or do you want to go sleep and never wake up? Not me. Now I just go straight to it. Are you thinking about suicide? Because people think about suicide. That is not uncommon. That is not the most horrific thing in the world. I don't want to normalize it because it's not healthy. And I don't like the term normal. I like the terms healthy and unhealthy. And so
I like that.
one of the things that you can do specifically is check in with them, and don't be afraid to ask the hard question in whatever way you can ask it. For me, it's straight up, straight out. But I also was on a mobile crisis team, and we didn't have time to be around the bush and be gentle. We had to know, what are your intentions with that gun in your lap? Or I hear you dropping bullets on the table. In that call, actually, it wasn't bullets, it was quarters. And this was a frequent flyer, and he just liked to play with our minds.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, we don't want to go there. But anyway, a lot of people say, oh, they say they're gonna kill themselves, they just want the attention. Well, give it to them. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? Give it to them. Okay, it's negative attention that they're garnering. So what? Give it to them.
Yeah, because
And
what
then,
if you didn't give it to them and they actually followed through on it?
well, if you didn't and they did, then you live with that, with the knowledge
Yep.
that your choice wasn't the best one in that occasion, but you have to keep going. I have had suicides on my watch, and that is a horrific feeling, but my life isn't going to end because of that, because I've had hundreds of non-suicides on my watch, and I have to remember that. And so as a friend, check in with them often. Ask them, do you have a plan of how you would do it? And if they say yes, say, what is it? If they say, I'll take pills, would you have them in the house? If they do, if they say yes, I've got bottles of aspirin, or I've got bottles of opioids, or whatever their mode is, say, can we let somebody else keep that and just divvy out to you what you need, what it's been prescribed for? Can we lock those up and get them totally out of the house? If it's a gun, would you be comfortable letting me keep it at my house? We talked about gun locks and locking guns up, or locking meds up, or locking the drawer to knives. If you have a teenager that cuts, and I say teenager, it could be any age. As a therapist, I worked in an inpatient adolescent and children's unit. And I loved when we got teenagers that cut, because, guys, that's a coping skill.
Yeah.
Maladaptive, unhealthy, shocking to their parents, but it's a coping skill. And if you have one, you can build on that and get more. So yeah, that's one population I love to work with, because the success rate is so high. When you can get them to flip the switch from cutting and having control over their ability to cut to something else, it's a glorious day. The wins are wonderful, and you've got to celebrate those. But so ask about the means, so ask about the means. If they're imminently suicidal, do not be afraid to say, let's go to the emergency department so you can get some help, because your chemicals are out of whack and you need help. Unless they're inebriated or under the influence of drugs. And the unless is not unless, it's even then they need the help even more. Make sure that they're safe when they're coming off their alcohol, or make sure they haven't overdosed. Take away the fear factor for your own self. Let it go. I have had psychiatrists tell me they didn't want to deal with the suicidal patient. They just wanted all the ones, with schizophrenia or bipolar. They just wanted to prescribe meds. They really didn't want to deal with somebody in crisis.
Okay. I need to catch a couple things here in the chat real quick.
Sorry.
All right, it's okay, no problem.
No, this is very helpful.
I keep seeing deleted comments by Misty. Somebody tell me what's going on, please. Okay, in the meantime, while I'm trying to figure that out, Susan says, trying hard not to worry about the things our oh, you already read that, never mind. Hang on. Maxie Doodle, Christy, my friend, is 53, has been diagnosed as bipolar, and has been questioning why she's alive at times. I think that happens a lot. What do you think? And then Susan says, my family learned how to deal with mental health issues. My mother was a paranoid psychotic. I don't know what all the symptoms are for that one. And Susan says, as a result, we didn't bring friends home to play after school. And then Melissa says, wait, then Melissa says it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Yep. And then Melissa says, and sometimes help is unattainable. Yes, that's true too. And
I disagree. I love you, but I disagree, because if you have a toolbox and you have coping skills, you can help yourself. So I disagree that help is sometimes it's unattainable. I agree that sometimes somebody won't do it. You know, they won't help themselves, but I think it is there. And we have to remind ourselves that it really is there.
And I think that this particular person, and I please forgive me to that person, I don't remember who it was, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but they may be referring to medical assistance with regards to like needing medical insurance or something of that nature.
I
Is
see. I'm
maybe
so sorry. Yes. Okay.
the route they're taking with that. But I have to agree with you, and I'm glad that you pointed out that yes, that medical insurance or medical bills or things of that nature may be unattainable for that person, but there are other places that they can go to get free help. They can call
Yes.
free phone numbers. They can, like you said, there's toolboxes. And when we say toolboxes, it's important that people understand a toolbox is not a physical box. These are tips and tricks and tools that you can use to help with your mental health, whether they be, visionary, whether they be, sound differences, things like that. We can probably go through them, and I'm sure Myra's a wealth of information when it comes to that. I'm loving our conversation, so thank you for that. I'm sure she can help with that, but those are what we're referring to when we refer to a toolbox. And so I apologize to whoever that was. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think that that's kind of where they were implying that help may not be obtainable to a person is simply because
I
of
apologize.
from a monetary perspective, a medical professional type of I don't have medical insurance, so I can't afford therapy type of situation, which I understand that concern and I understand that fear, but there are free facilities and free places that they can go to. They just need to, it is a little bit more of a challenge. It's not as easy, but they are there. And it's up to us as their friends and their family to help them find those things.
Yeah.
And I know Katie had thrown at the beginning of the chat, she had thrown a link into chat, and it's in there somewhere for
Yeah,
the
I'll put it in here
international
again.
help
Yep.
hotline. And it's important that whoever that person is, if they are they know someone that doesn't feel like they have help that's attainable, get that information to them. I've also got the national hotline phone number here in the US that they can call. Those are all free services. You don't need medical insurance for those things. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a general therapist. You don't need any of those things. All you need is access to a telephone or the internet if you have it. You don't even have to have that.
Or texting. So
Or texting.
The United
Yes.
States Suicide Crisis Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Press 1 if you're a veteran or calling about a veteran. Sorry. But in the last few years, they changed that to just 988. You know how you teach your kids to dial 911 if it's an emergency, if somebody's choking or having a heart attack? 988 is the mental health crisis line. And again, it routes you to that 1-800-273 8255 number. and press 1. You can even text. Since I've been in suicide prevention, they started the crisis line. A wonderful woman that was my mentor actually partnered. She was the first national suicide prevention coordinator for the nation, Janet Kemp,
Good for
and
her.
she partnered with the National Suicide Crisis Hotline to get press 1 if you're a veteran. So the veterans have a special call center all their own. And I actually, next to my 4 children and all my grandchildren, and I don't call them step, but my bonus children and bonus grandchildren, next to them, the thing I am most proud of in my life, and I'll get one in just a minute, is I actually was the person that was able to get the Veterans Crisis Line, the Suicide Crisis Hotline, printed on bottle caps for mail out pharmacies. If any of y'all are veterans or have veterans in your family that receive meds in the mail, take a look at the bottle cap. And if you look, it'll, and I'll go get one and show you. Anyway, and I was voluntold to enter a contest in Orlando, a nationwide VA contest, and I did, and they accepted my proposal. 35 proposals were accepted out of 4,000, and mine didn't cost any money. Mine actually cost nothing because they were already, putting press down, whatever. So
They were already printing on them.
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
Next to the birth of my children, and now it was not a new idea with me. Thousands of suicide prevention professionals had the idea to do that, but I was voluntold to enter this contest, and
voluntold.
and I made it, and because of the contest, it made it through Congress, it made it through everywhere, and it happened.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Well,
I need to catch up on some stuff here in the chat too, because there's more comments.
Okay, I'm gonna go get that.
Yeah, let's get all of these. Denise, I'll ask her that question when she comes back. Laura Sup says, Melissa, I think this year is even worse because I've been dealing with health issues that have prevented me from sewing and crafting. And then I thought that, and then
that's
Laura
always difficult.
also, yep, and Laura also said March is always a difficult month for her because she lost her mom. It will be 3 years on March. That's on my birthday. No, the 20th. Never mind. Anyway, March the 20th. So I'm so sorry, Laura. And then Cynthia says, I just came in as you were discussing triggers, so I don't know the entirety of the conversation, but what I did hear was therapeutic. I'm glad this is
well, that's good.
This is going to be helping. I haven't done anything to delete Misty. I don't know what's going on with this bot. How do I unhide Misty? Let me see if I can find. Yeah, because I'm seeing a deletion of our stuff.
Sometimes if you right click on her thing, you can do it. Sometimes you have to actually go into the settings in the bot and look for like blocked users and go that way. I've done that to one of my subscribers once before. It was completely on accident. But I accidentally clicked the wrong button and I muted them or booted them on accident. So it was completely on accident that it happened. But I had to go into, no, I don't use the Nightbot, I use Streamlabs, but I had to go into my Streamlabs cloud bot, and there's a list in there of all of the people that you have on a blocked list, and you have to remove them from that list. At least that's what I had to do. I don't know if that'll work for you or not.
I'm looking for it now. I'm just trying to figure, I'm trying to see where it is here inside my Nightbot.
Because that's while you're figuring that out, can I show these things maybe?
Sure, let me spotlight it so they can see it better.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh,
all right. So
there
that's
look
the
at that.
original one.
Okay.
That's the original one, and it has evolved into the 988 one. Do you see that?
Yes, that's great.
Now, not only is that the Veterans Crisis Line, but 988 is the national for America. I mean, yeah, just 988. Teach your kids that so that if they have a friend who's in crisis, your teenagers, they can give their friend that number. Getting back to Cynthia, and I love how you spell your name. That is so cool. I really like that. So she asked, can I suggest how to go about getting the tools if someone's afraid to go to the hospital or doctor? And where can you find those tools and tips to start with? Okay, there are some organizations to help people, help others. National Alliance for the Mental Ill, NAMI.com, is one really great resource for everybody.
Okay.
The Association for Suicide, AASP, the American Association for Suicidology is another one, but that one is really geared more to professionals. But the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP, is an excellent group of grassroots people, moms and dads and aunts and uncles and grandparents that lost family members, started this AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. You may have noticed in September usually, or in the spring, and I guess maybe in the spring for the northern places, but down here in Florida, it's in September. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and
Yes.
AFSP has walks where they raise money for research, and the people don't get it. It really goes to research. They're a great group. I was chairman of our local chapter for years. I'm no longer affiliated with them, but they have resources online. AFSP. I think org maybe. I apologize. I think it's org. But American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Another thing that you can do that these researchers called Stanley and Brown, they made a safety plan. And the safety plan is a document that you can download for free. They put it out there for everybody, and that just touches my heart. They did it years ago. It's empirically proven to be a help for people in mental health crisis. You could use it for medical, like if somebody, like my mother has COPD and asthma, if she had the mental wherewithal to use a safety plan for that, I would do one with her. But unfortunately, she forgets short-term memory. She has some short-term memory issues. So, but it's Stanley and Brown, and it's Suicide Prevention Safety Plan, and it has 5 domains, and one of them is, and the person fills this out. Now, as a therapist, I wanted an hour to do a safety plan with you because I really used it as a therapeutic moment. But in a crunch, I can do a safety plan in 10 minutes with you. But it talks about the person is supposed to put down on this paper, what are their warning signs that they're diving down into a depression or into an arena that would make them want to harm themselves? What are their personal, because it's personal for everybody. Nobody's warning signs are the same. So warning signs, and what can they do? Who can they call? Personal friends, a pastor, then professionals they can call, that crisis line, their own therapist if they have one, their own psychiatrist. Then keeping the environment safe. You know, means restriction is so important, but I don't really like locked cabinets because desperate people are ingenious and they can finagle locks open. You know, they can get into things that you would think they never could. And so I like physically removing things if you can. You can't
Wow,
always.
March seems to be a time to lose moms on top of it, because Cynthia also said she lost her mom. And I fixed the problem with Misty. And
Oh,
Cynthia
amazing.
says,
Good.
Myra, can you suggest to us how to go about getting the tools if someone is afraid to go to a hospital or a doctor where can we find these tools and tips to start with?
Yeah, like I said, NAMI, AAS, AFSP, those are great online places you can go to educate your own self. There is a grassroots training called Mental Health Matters that is for the lay person to know how to respond to somebody with a mental health issue. And those are, I think, given free often. I don't know if you have to pay for them, but it's called Mental Health Matters, and that's a good
I've
one.
heard that one.
But going back to Stanley and Brown, their safety plan, when I worked at the Orlando VA, the VA had access to Stanley Brown's safety plan. And I actually had it translated into Spanish because we have so many Hispanic people in the Orlando area. So I actually had it printed in a little folder, and it said my personal safety plan in teal, because teal's my favorite color, if y'all can see.
Okay, can I interrupt real quick, and then you can
Yes.
continue? The person who asked about the tools, and then Myra gave an answer to that. I will get the information from Myra after the live. Then I will post all those links underneath the description box in the comment section, and I will pin it so you can find it. And then all you have to do is, and it'll probably take me a few minutes after the live to get it done, but I'll make sure it gets posted there. And then when we have next month's get together, they will already be in the description box as well. So I'll take care of that after the live tonight. There we go.
Perfect.
Now you can keep on.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really grand. But so what I did is I printed this out, and it's still ongoing. I've been gone for 7, almost 8 years from the Orlando VA, but I begged a cohort of mine to apply for my position. And I really advocated for her to get the job because I knew that she would just do a wonderful job. And she has. They went from 1 suicide prevention coordinator and 5 case managers to, like, I don't know, a whole bunch of coordinators and managers and peer support staff. And I mean, the program is just awesome there. But even today, I was told you still can see veterans with this. Okay, we printed it on regular 11x8 paper, but we printed it this way, so when you fold it, it's only, like 4x5.5 or whatever, and so it's like a little pamphlet. And especially the men roll it up and stick it in their back pocket, and you see people, and if you know what it is, you immediately know, and you see them walking with their safety plans. It's so cool. And I've heard that doctors use it for, like, people with diabetes. I mean, it can be tailored to anything, and it can be it's just a wonderful thing Stanley and Brown created. Yeah.
So what is the safety plan? Let's go into that a little bit more in detail. Help me understand it, Myra. A safety plan is obviously just a plan to keep someone safe. Is that basically the gist of it, or?
Well, it's all right. Let's say for me, I'm going to walk myself through a safety plan for myself. Okay. I'm going to use anxiety as my main thing. Okay.
Perfect.
So I would print this out from Stanley and Brown, and it'll say, what are my warning triggers? Well, if I feel shaky inside, internal shaking, that is a definite warning sign for my anxiety rising. If my hands start trembling, that is a warning sign. I love to fly, and I had to fly in my second job with the VA. I worked for the Office of Inspector General doing healthcare inspections in hospitals. And we flew every 5 to 6 weeks, and I loved it. But there came a point where sometimes I would get anxious, and literally, I'd start breathing heavy, and I just almost to the point of a panic attack. I did have a panic attack on a plane one time, and which made me angry because I love to fly. Where is this coming from? But you can't control anxiety and panic attacks. It is what it is, and it's there. So I might put getting on a plane as a warning sign, breathing heavy as I get on the plane, okay, or gripping the chair. All right, so those are warning signs. So the next portion of the safety plan is coping skills. Okay, I have Xanax. I am not above popping a Xanax before I get on the plane because I know that I'll have time to get that out of my system before I present myself to the hospital.
Having said that about the Xanax, because I can explain this later. What if your doctor limits you on the amount of this type of anxiety medicine for flying, and you get stuck somewhere where the small amount of pills he gave you for traveling, you run out because that's all they gave you because you're stuck somewhere for 10 hours and your medicine runs out and you've already used that.
Yes, I remember that time.
Home. Yeah, because this happened to me.
I remember that time.
Yeah, because I had the attack right on the airplane in the middle of everybody. So what do you do when you're in that position where you don't have medicine and you know, well, you don't know you're going to have the panic attack, but you're already stressed, you're tired, you don't have your medicine in your system. What do you do when that happens?
Okay, so you think back to other coping skills if you've been taught them. One of my favorite is the here and now. The here and now is as simple as, okay, I'm going to name 5 things I'm seeing. I'm seeing the lamp or the chandelier over my dining room table. I'm seeing Katie on the computer. I'm seeing the light that's blinding my eyes. I'm seeing Lillian, my featherweight sewing machine, and I'm seeing these bottle caps. What am I smelling?
So
I'm
you're
really
getting your
not
mind off what's going on. Wow.
Yeah, it's what am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? What can I touch? I love to speak in front of national audiences. I'm sorry, do you need something?
No, that was that's fascinating. I've never heard of that, and so I'm absorbing it in. I'm sorry.
It's the here and now, and anybody can do it. It's the here, or anybody can lead someone through it. What are you feeling? I feel my butt on the chair. I feel the wooden arms of this chair. I feel the carpet under my feet.
I never thought of it that way. And that's a great visualization to get your mind off the
exactly. And y'all, this isn't rocket science. I am not Wonder Woman. Okay, this is just things that you learn when you go to school to be a professional mental health professional. These are things that if you have a good therapist, they'll bring up and help you know. So the here and now, it's smelling, it's seeing, it's hearing. Hey, you know what? Carry lemon drops with you, or sweeten. What are those Sour Patch Kids? Oh, that's a really good one.
I like lemons, the lemon drops. Those are
But carry something that's going to make you pucker up, because that'll bring you, or cinnamon, red hots, fireballs. Bring something that's going to take your attention off of the panic attack and help you get through it. So you've got coping skills. Another one I really like is and I do this, I taught this to my daughter-in-law, and she does this with my grandson, or I don't really think she has to do it much anymore, but when he was 2 and 3 and getting ready to have a meltdown, she would say, Gavin, let's do our hand, let's do our hand. And so what she would do is she would have him lift his little hand up and put his finger down here at his palm. Can y'all see this? Katie, do you want to? Okay.
Yeah, hang on, let me spotlight you. Hold on.
Okay. Not that I'm not enjoying, but you guys might want to see this.
It's okay. I'm trying to find a piece of paper to write something down.
Okay, so you put your finger right here at your palm, and you breathe in as you bring your finger up. When you reach the top, you breathe out as you go down to your starting point.
Wow.
Breathe in through your nose as you go up. Breathe out as you go down to your starting point. This slows
Oh, I
your
like
breathing
this.
down. And it's physical. You can feel your finger on your skin. And you've got a starting point, breathing in and breathing out, and breathing in and breathing out.
Oh, I like that. I like that physical, being able to have that
Now,
physical reminder of that. That's really good.
if you're in a place where you don't want to be playing with your hand,
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
I was saying earlier, I really, really enjoy presenting to national conventions, like to AMVETS or American Legion, and telling them all about suicide and suicide prevention. I just love to do it. I haven't gotten to do it lately, but anyway, if anybody wants me, call me. I don't cost anything unless we need to travel. I might need a little help with that. But anyway, so, and that wasn't a plug. I haven't done that ever, but I would if you wanted me to. But anyway, so I'm up there in front of, one time 4,000 American Legion
Wow.
people. And
Wow.
I'm presenting, and Barack Obama is also going to be there too. So there really is 4,000 people there. And I have a seashell. I'm from Panama City, Florida. I'm Florida native, and we're on the Gulf of Mexico. And I have a little seashell, but since I don't have it with me, I'm going to just use this as though it were my seashell. So I'm up behind the podium, and I've got my little seashell in my hand that other people can't see, but it's got edges and ridges on it. And so I'm running my finger along the edge to help myself calm down, because even though this is my passion and I love doing it, I'm still a human being that gets nervous.
Yeah.
Right.
I still
Right.
have that. Who are you to be talking to anybody about anything? You're just podunk. Myra, Terry, whatever, Brazil from,
Mhm.
I got grandparents buried in w-Dani, Florida. And if y'all don't know where that is, Utilise Gold was a movie that was made about the Tupelo honey that they have in w-Dani. It's a little bitty wisp of a town. Yeah, so don't think higher yourself than you ought, because you're just a bumpkin from w-Dani, although I was born in St. Joe. But anyway, so yeah.
Janice has an interesting comment. She said doing random crafts helps me with anxiety, and she's giving you an example of what she means. Once I had an anxiety attack in church. I went out into the lobby and tore different colored paper towels and made a quilt pattern.
Huh.
That's
You know,
brilliant.
if that works for her, that's great. I don't think that I would have thought to do that. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that
me
she kind
either. I mean,
of planted that little bitty seed in my head.
Laura's also made a couple of comments up here. She says, "Is there a way to know when you need something like Xanax versus a longer term type of medication?" I
That's
do
an
have
excellent
Xanax.
question.
Yeah, I do have Xanax for ER type situations, but sometimes I wonder if I need something daily. Wouldn't that be something to talk to the doctor about?
Yeah, you need to talk to, if you don't have a psychiatrist, you can talk to your GP about it. I actually, the very first time I was prescribed an antidepressant, I wasn't depressed. My oncologist said that I had to go on an antidepressant or he would not use me on his caseload, because going through chemo would alter all the chemicals in my body, including in my brain, and that he had seen over the many decades he had been doing it, that people going through cancer often got depressed. And so right from the get-go, he said, you must go on antidepressants. Now, I was a mental health professional at the time, and I was very, very offended and annoyed. I am the most positive person you'll ever want to meet. People couldn't believe that I was a suicide prevention coordinator and a therapist, because I am normally like this. And I tell people that come into my practice, when I had a practice, I am a happy person. I'm going to be smiling at you. I'm a happy person.
He's always smiling.
If this bothers you, I'm not the therapist for you. I also would tell them, I'm an empath. I'm very empathetic.
Yeah.
If you tell me about trauma in your life, You are somebody's loved one, and I don't have a brother, but you could be my son, or you could be my father or my uncle. I have those men in my lives. You could be my sister, my mother, my cousin, and that could be their story, and that's going to affect my heart, and I'm going to tear up, and I may sniffle. I may have to go get a tissue. If that bothers you, if you need someone stoic like Freud, then go get him. I'm not the therapist for you, but I will
Right.
sniffle and blow my nose and say, excuse me, and we will continue on.
Yeah.
Not every therapist is for every person. So ask your professional doctor about whether something could be good for you. I have Xanax for emergent situations, you know, for when I can't, when my coping skills are failing me and I just need more or whatever. But every day I take an antidepressant that has an anxiolytic, isn't that a great word? I can pronounce it. That has an anxiolytic in it, an anti-anxiety med component to it. And if I don't take that med, because I'm kind of like a person who's been diagnosed with bipolar, who's been on their meds and they're doing good, and they're like, I'm healed, I'm good, Jesus has delivered me, or whatever your thought process. I don't need my meds anymore, and I go off that antidepressant, anti-anxiety med. It takes about a month, but I'll go off it like some stupid idiot that we all are at times. And my husband will say, you're off your meds, aren't you? Or my sister will say, baby, have you been taking your meds? Because I get witchy with a B. I get short. I get snappy.
You get grumpy.
Grumpy. That's a good one.
That's on my warning signs list, y'all. That would be on my warning sign list. Stop taking meds. And it's not that I think I'm healed or that I'm better. It's just that I hate to take meds, and I don't want to do it. I, as a therapist, can really relate to people, you know, because I am you. And my mother, that's 91, that has COPD, congestive heart failure, and asthma, she takes morning meds and night meds, and she will get very mean, and she takes breathing treatments, and she'll get very mean and say, all you are is a pill pusher. You don't love me. You just want to shove these pills down your throat, my throat. And I'll cry and I'll say, Mom, that is so not true. And I'm so sorry you have to take these meds. I hate to take meds too. I get it. And so the month that I'm with my mom, I'm very, very devout about taking my meds, because I got to show her. I say, look, Mom, I'm drinking my breakfast drink. I'm taking my meds. Let's get yours down. And she says, yeah, you have one big hairy deal.
She sounds like a handful.
She is.
Okay, so there's a question for you up here. It says, Myra, can you explain the difference between CBT and DBT?
Cognitive behavioral therapy, dialect behavioral therapy. Okay. Y'all, I graduated in 2000. I was later in life person. I actually went back to school because my children's father was a pastor. I was a pastor's wife, and I didn't want to hurt anybody. So I went back to school to get my degree in social work and counseling so that I could help people. And also I thought it would financially help my family. Yeah, don't go into social work for the money, y'all.
Sorry. Not funny, sorry.
Sad, but true.
It is. It truly is.
It's just like teachers. They don't get what they deserve.
No, they do not.
But anyway, social workers take care of people from the womb to the tomb. Isn't that great? I love that saying. So the question was, what's the difference between CBT and DBT? You know, I'm doing continuing ed because I have to renew my license, and I'm not going to let it lapse yet, because I still may want to do some private practice or do something that I need my license for. So I just was in a continuing ed course, and they went over it. And I'm here to tell you that right at this moment, I'm absolutely blank.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
That happens sometimes.
but I'm going to go out of the YouTube channel and I'm going to Google it so I can explain it to you. Not
While
that
she's
you
doing
couldn't.
that, let me catch up on some of the chat that while she's looking. Let me read some other things that's been said in here. Sherry suggested to Laura to talk to the doctor about how she feels most of the time. Xanax helps quickly, but daily meds can help long term. This is her personal experience. So, and this is great that we're sharing personal experiences. And then Laura says, Sherry, I took a daily med for many, many years, but went off of it 3 years ago and felt so much better. That might have been the wrong kind of medicine for you at the time, Laura.
It could
Because
be. I'm one of those people that I go on and off meds every few years, depending on kind of what's going on in my lifetime. So it could be a matter of it's not the right medication for us. It could be a
yeah,
matter of it's not the right combination of medications if they're on other medications as well, because they can combat them. And it can also just be outside triggers as well. I mean, it just depends on what's going on in your life and what level of your anxiety or your depression it is too. I go on and off medications every few years, and I've been doing that since I was a teenager. And I have gotten to a point now in my life, thankfully, as an adult, that I can kind of identify when I'm starting to go downhill and maybe I need a little bit of extra help. But I know that, but Myra has mentioned it a few times before. It's important to remember that these mental illness is a chemical imbalance in your brain. That is all it is. It's not a matter of and I don't want to simplify that because it is not something simple. It is not at all. But down to the bare bones of it, it is a chemical imbalance. And so a medication helps with that chemical balance. That's all it does. It's not a crutch. It's not, there's nothing wrong with you. There's no reason that you should be offended or embarrassed or upset by the fact that you need a different chemical in your body. We all have chemicals in our body and they all produce at different rates for different people at different times, depending on the food you eat, depending on what you drink, depending on the air you breathe, the different things that are happening in your life. So if someone needs to go on an extra medication, even if it's for a short time or a long time, it doesn't matter. It's a matter of it's just balancing out those chemicals in your body. And unfortunately, there's no right or wrong to everyone's body. Everyone's bodies are different. So different chemicals work differently. And so it can take a while for you and your doctor to figure out exactly what
yeah,
level of medicines are needed to get that balance. And it's a bit of trial and error. I can tell you that from personal experience. And that's why I say I go on and off medications because I have tried a variety of different ones. And sometimes they work for a while and then they stop working, or sometimes they just don't work at all, or sometimes they make it worse. And so it's just an up and down battle of, okay, I need something. I know I need something because I'm too low for my comfort zone. I know that I need something to help, but maybe I don't need, the Xanax level. I need something that's just kind of a small, trickle of some type of hormone to help out. And especially with our younger teenagers and our middle-aged women who are going through those, and I please men don't men go through this as well, but those two stages of a woman's lives, we have the most amount of hormones running through our bodies, and there are different levels for each person, and they're not consistent. It's not like we wake up in the morning, we have this one level of hormone that goes throughout the whole day. That's not how it works. It's up and down all day long, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And so those two time frames in our lives are one of the most difficult for ourselves and for doctors to be able to maintain. So it's important to remember that. Don't judge anyone if they do or don't want to go on a medication because they're just trying to find that chemical balance within their bodies. And I get really upset when people get when people are worried or they get embarrassed by the fact that they are on a medication because they shouldn't be. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you or anyone else because you need a different chemical in your body. It's not like you're eating the wrong foods or you're not. I mean, don't get me wrong, diet and exercise can help, but they may not be the only thing. You may need a little bit extra, and that's okay.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And that's why it's important, and that's why we've said it quite a few times. talk to your medical professional if you can, if you have the ability to do so. And if you don't, here's the fun part, is those services that we've been telling you about, people that we've been telling you to talk to. Myra says she worked for the National Prevention. She is licensed. The people that are behind those phones, behind those text messages, they are also licensed. You don't necessarily need to make an appointment to go see a doctor and pay medical expenses just to get a licensed professional to still help you. And that's important to remember as well. These are all licensed professionals that are there to help you. They are trained on how to help you and work through those things. They may not necessarily be able to write you a prescription, but they can work with you to find a doctor within your budget and your means to get the medication that you need if you do need a medication. So it's important to remember that. So please keep that in mind, guys, when you're talking about medicines and things like that. It's okay. There is nothing wrong with wanting or needing to be on a medication. And the fact that someone is asking, do I need to be on one? That's a question you need to be asking your doctor, because if you're asking yourself that, the answer is probably a yes. And that's just from my own personal experience. I know that when I ask myself that question, the answer is 9 times out of 10 a resounding yes. I need to be on something, even if it's for a short period of time. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I love what you said, and I so agree. Something that I remind especially parents is it's called the practice of medicine. It's not the science. It's not an exact science. I was a dental assistant before I went back to school, and dentistry is an exact science. You have a tooth, it has the issues it has. You have one shot at doing it. They're perfectionists. They have to be. That's why they're one of the professions that take their own lives the most, because they have to be perfectionists. They have no room, no margin for error. But it's the practice of medicine. And so the cocktail that worked on you today the medicinal cocktail that worked on you today may not work on you tomorrow.
For sure.
So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I go back to difference between cognitive behavioral and dialectical?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
I kind of went on a soapbox there. I apologize.
Oh, you're
No,
grand.
it's okay. You're fine, Dani. It's all good.
So I haven't been in the chat. So Katie, I need you to you behind the scenes be doing that. So okay, while both cognitive behavioral and dialectical behavioral are types of talk therapy, DBT developed as an extension of CBT. So CBT focuses its focus is to identify and change negative or unhelpful thought patterns and behaviors. Okay. The techniques that they use are cognitive restructuring. That's thinking, renaming, reframing. Okay. Exposure therapy and behavioral activation. The goal is to help individuals develop more adaptive thinking patterns and behaviors, and it's commonly used for depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, and various phobias. Okay. I have tried to do cognitive behavioral therapy for my phobia of spiders.
Sorry, you're not the only one with that phobia.
So
right here.
I am better about it. I do make myself like, I can now look at a tarantula and not scream and shout and freak out. But if I see something on the wall, I won't go up to it to really see what it is, because I'm afraid of what it might be. And so I make my husband go. But but I'm slowly trying to help myself with that very real phobia. So the dialectical behavior therapy, their focus, it combines CBT techniques with mindfulness practices. Now,
that's something I've been trying to do.
Oh my gosh, the term mindfulness is hilarious to me, because my uneducated grandfather from w-Dani that I fully expected to come to my wedding in overalls, because I had never seen him in my whole life out of overalls. My papa never said, I love you. I never remember him saying that, but what he would always do is he always had like a 2-day growth of stubble, and he'd get me and he'd scrub his face on my cheeks, bristle me up, and he'd say, baby, now you be particular. Y'all think
Okay.
about be particular. That's mindfulness. My uneducated farmer, hog farmer, woodlands cutter grandpa, paper mill worker grandpa, he knew about mindfulness without the fancy name. Y'all,
Yeah, without it.
be particular. Okay, so going back to focus, it's mindfulness practices and a focus on emotional regulation, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness. So some of the techniques are mindfulness, emotion regulation, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness skills training. The goal is to help individuals accept their emotions and behaviors while simultaneously learning to change unhelpful behaviors. DBT is really, really good with people who cut, actually. It's used for borderline personality disorder, eating disorder, self-harm or suicidal behavior, and also substance abuse. So the key difference is that DBT emphasizes validation and acceptance of emotions even when they're difficult, while CBT focuses more on identifying and changing negative thoughts.
Okay.
So, yes, you could have pulled that up on Google and read it your own darn self, but I did it for you because I didn't remember.
We appreciate that.
Can we visit part of that? One of the problems I have with mindfulness is it's interesting. I've done mindfulness where there's someone with me and this particular person that was working with me with mindfulness, he would have his hand on my back or something, and he would walk me through doing it, and I could actually relax enough to go through the mindfulness where there wasn't things going on inside of my head. But when I try to do it by myself, it doesn't matter if I have music on, no music on, if everything in the house is quiet and there's nothing to distract me and I'm sitting there, I cannot turn my brain off. It's like this chaos inside of my head. And so I always lose the battle with trying to do mindfulness. And I don't know how to get there by myself. So what do you do when you have that difficulty?
What about, and I'm not a professional, so I'm sure Myra will be better at this than I am, but for me, it sounds to me like it's more of the other person's physical touch is what's kind of grounding you.
Yeah.
In being able to focus. And so what you need to do is you need to find another mechanism for grounding. Sometimes that can be as simple as putting your hand on a cold wall. Like I've heard people use the tile in their bathroom, the cold wall and the tile in their bathroom as a way to ground it because of the temperature. I've heard some people have actually physically laid on the ground on a tile floor for the temperature change on their skin.
It's the same effect as laying on the grass, because I know when I lay on grass, I get that same feeling of mindfulness or going out to nature. But in the winter months, that's impossible.
For some people, it's just simply sitting out in a forest or listening to trees and things like that. It can be that. But so basically, what it is it's a way for you to it's basically a trigger for you to help with your focus. For me, cold is a trigger for me. I'm not sure why, but it is. So I actually have ice packs in my freezer. And so whenever I am like getting anxious and I'm getting kind of crazy, I mean, I don't have any aches or pains that I need the ice pack for. For me, it's more, I just pull it out of the fridge and hold it so that now I'm focused on that cold and I'm not focused on whatever else it is that's going on around me. And now I can, okay, now I've got my brain stopped because now I'm focused on the cold and now I can focus on my breathing. I can focus on whatever it is I need to be doing because that's what helps for me. Now, obviously, I don't always have access to an ice pack. You know, but like I said, the cold tile in a bathroom, any public restroom, I know, please be careful with touching public restrooms, but you know, the cold, the temperature change is my trigger for me. That's what I have
Okay.
taught
Well, that
myself
makes
to be.
sense. Yeah.
And for you, it was the physical touch of that person that was helping you. So, and I, you know, maybe you're not necessarily always near a person, but maybe a physical touch of another animal, if you have an animal in your home, or a fuzzy blanket, or, you know, things like that. If you can
Speaking of
find
blanket,
that, if
no,
you
it's
can
funny you brought
find
that
that
up.
texture that helps you, that's really what it comes down to. Is it's just a matter of identifying that, oh, okay, this is my, I use the word trigger, but that's probably not the best word, but this is what is helping me focus. Now, some people,
Yeah.
like you said, some people it's music, some people it's quiet, some people it's, you know, it's temperature. For me, some people it's the sun, some people it's, you know, the nighttime. You know, it's different for every person, but it's that one thing that helps you kind of helps you create that mindfulness
Yeah.
is what I'm hearing anyway. Again, I'm not a
Yeah.
professional.
I
I
know.
only know what I know, but that's what works for me.
When I was younger, when there was, anytime there was a lot of chaos going on in my life, when I was raising kids, not when I was a teenager, because I didn't have that. My escape when I was a teenager was to go out and garden, but at nighttime there wasn't that escape. And I couldn't crank up the music. But when I was raising kids and we were having a bad week, a lot of times I would go shut myself in the bedroom, lay across the bed, and crank the music up as loud till it was vibrating the room. But I discovered that it would help me zero out what was making me feel bad to start with. But when you turn the music back off, you walk back into chaos and you're not feeling any more mindful than you was when you did that. So I feel like there's a better way of trying to handle what's causing all the chaos in my
Well, I
life.
think that there's a trigger and then there's the skills to be mindful. So you
Yeah,
have to give yourself the trigger first to be able to focus, and then you have to go into your mental toolkit and use your mental toolkit to work through those things so that, like you said, when the music turns off, you have whatever skills and whatever tools it was that you used in your toolkit to rely on those now that you're going to let go of what your sole focus was. At least I think that's the way I'm
yeah,
understanding
yeah,
it anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rita says I fixed my foot. Oh, we're talking about spiders. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part. Rita did say she calls Katie. I call that race brain. And Misty says your mind is running a million a minute. Yep. And let me see. Some people are saying they're with me on that one, and Janice says the same thing. So I'm not the only one that experienced that problem. But then Janice says, my husband likes listening to white noise to go to sleep, but white noise can't stop my brain. But on YouTube, videos, listening to voices quiets my brain. So yeah, I've noticed
Okay.
that with some of that too. Or rain from the video, a YouTube channel. Sometimes I'll find a YouTube channel that has rain and I hear thunder. I have to have the combination. It's very strange with me. It's not rain's just not enough. It's like reminding me of Florida thunderstorms. And
Yeah. Oh,
sometimes
I
that
love
helps,
thunder.
but not all the time, but sometimes it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, the rainstorms are one of my favorite times to be mindful. I love to watch them. It's one of those things that I'm reverted back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And I have some childhood memories from that. But yeah, I love rainstorms, but you
I
can't have a
miss
rainstorm every day,
thunderstorms.
you know?
It's weird because I realized I used to whenever we'd have a thunderstorm, I don't know, it was something about it. I would go stand at the front door and open the door with the screen door closed, and I would just stand there and take it in and breathe the because it smells different when you have a thunderstorm going on, and there was just something soothing about that. And Myra's hair's got very long.
Excuse me.
All right, let's see. Misty says it's hard to get it to calm down. Janice, Laura, Rita, do you guys have any tips to try to calm it down? So here, someone else is asking, and Rita says she has a big aquarium in her living room that has a PVC pipe that creates the sound of a waterfall. That's her white noise.
There you go. Yeah, YouTube has a lot of great videos on different they call them ASMR, which is basically just sounds and not people talking. And there's a variety of different ones to choose from that really help people out. When I was a child, and I know this sounds stupid and silly, but when I was a kid, I had this I had a cassette tape and a cassette player that was next to my bed, and it actually had whale sounds. I had a tape that I had bought for an art project. I had a tape that I bought for an art project that was just whale sounds. I needed it for the front of the cover, but I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll listen to the tape. And it turned out to be whale sounds, like orcas and things like that, and the sound of the ocean and the whales. And that really helped me when I was a kid. Of course, like everything else in my life, it only works for a short time, and then I got to find something new to work with. But it did work for a little while, but that was, way back when, before they had YouTube and iPods and everything else. I'm dating myself a little bit here. But things like that, I just use that as an example. But, rain is a great one. For some people, they've said that makes it so that they have to use the restroom more often. I think that's a psychological thing, maybe, I'm not sure. But rain is a good one. Whale sounds, nature sounds, trees and wind rustling. That's another great one. There's a lot of really great sound clips and videos. Fire crackling, I've heard that one can be a good one. Sometimes it can be a trigger for some people too, but it can be a good one. But those are all really great. If you're again, I use trigger, but I know that's a bad word. If your trigger is to help you calm down is sound, some type of sound. Like for me, I told you mine is temperature. For some people, it's sound. And so if yours is sound, try out these different sounds and see if there are any that you just kind of feel your brain slow down. And you'll notice right off the bat if it's working. I think anyone will be able to say that if something is working, you'll notice it's working. And it's really easy to know. And don't be frustrated if it works for a short time and then doesn't work again.
Yeah.
I have ADD, so I get really bored very easily. And so that's why I'm constantly changing out the sounds and changing out the colors. The only thing that's really been constant for me is the change of temperature for me. When I told you that I use the cold, but it's got to be extreme cold for me. When it's really hot outside, it's got to be an extreme cold. It's got to be an ice pack to really set my brain to go, hey, something's different here. But things like that. So keep trying different things. And that's kind of the whole point of this whole conversation, is that keep trying. There's no right or wrong answer for each one person. So just keep trying. Don't give up. There are reasons and there are ways out there. And these are some tools that you guys can use to help you focus, to help you get back into your safe space within your own mind, the safe space within your own mind. And get back to that point so that we can get out of the anxiety, get out of the depression, get out of the suicidal thoughts, or the spiraling, I can't focus on anything because everything's coming at me all at one time. Find a way to slow it down. And sometimes the best way to do that is this trigger. There's got to be another word for that. But this trigger that helps you do that. And again, for me, it's temperature change. For you, it could be sound. It could be bright colors. It could be dim colors. It could be any number of things.
Coping mechanism, not trigger.
Oh, coping mechanism. Okay, thank you. I knew trigger wasn't the right word. Coping mechanism sounds much better. But it's basically that same thing. Yeah.
Bill. Sorry, I'm trying to get my husband's attention. Bill. Yes, we listen to Enya. I know Katie does.
Yes.
Yeah, Enya and Enigma and Lorena Mechanic. Oh my God, I love her music. Because sometimes just something about those three groups that when I'm totally where I'm like, no music works to calm me down, I'll switch to that, and within a few minutes, I'm better.
See, for me, it's complete classical music.
Yeah.
Like when I am absolutely out of my mind, for me, besides my temperatures, it's classical music. It's, going back to the traditional classical orchestra music, the Bach, the Beethoven, that's what gets it from me.
Sometimes I don't know of any specific person who does the piano pieces, but sometimes I'll come across certain piano pieces and I'm like, oh my gosh, that really just totally zenned me out,
Yes. And now I don't know how much people are familiar with navigating through. Hi.
Hey, this is Bill. Hang on, let me spotlight you real quick. Don't go anywhere. Hey, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
This
That's
is
my
my
Mr.
son. This is Mr. Wonderful.
with
Yeah,
his,
right.
with his sleepy head.
We're under tornado warning, so
So he's in the bed. We're under tornado warning. So
Oh,
what
you
does he
didn't
do?
say
He
anything
goes to
about
bed, watches TV.
Oh my.
Is the weather really bad outside right now?
Not too. It's
Okay.
it's doing the wave
It's
things.
Florida
you know.
and it's springtime. Let's get nasty for a
Yeah,
little while.
you know how it is. It just comes in waves.
Yep, it comes with a cold front usually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. We had horrible weather yesterday. We had the tornado sirens and everything last night and Friday night into yesterday.
See
And
now,
now
look here.
yesterday it was
Rita.
cold.
Sorry,
That's okay. And today it's snowing.
snowing. Yep.
Janice, that was cute. And
Her name is Janice.
oh, I'm
Janice.
sorry. Thank you, Janice. Thank you. It's so important to say your name right because that's your name, Janice. Oh, I like that. So I love quilting on. Oh no, Mr. Bill. Yeah, that was good.
Because I'm getting
Thank
used to
y'all for
headphones.
saying.
My husband can't fall asleep to voices, says Janice. But then look what Rita said. Rita says, I can't have any noise in my bedroom, even the sound of dogs licking. Oh, we don't even want to get me started on that one. I can
I
have
understand. I can
I can
understand
have
that.
noise, but if I hear my dog licking, I don't know what it is about licking, but it drives me crazy. I'm like,
My
stop
husband's like
licking.
that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when Coda
some
would do
people
it,
are.
you could really hear him doing, but every now and then I hear her doing it and I scold her for it. Patty G says, question for Myra. Do you believe REM sleep benefits mental health?
Yeah, that's been empirically proven. Yeah, we all need our REM sleep. And you can die if you don't have sleep, folks. You can, because you go psychotic. It really messes with your brain. So yes, definitely. Absolutely. That's why they teach us how to teach sleep hygiene.
Man, I need some teaching in the sleep department.
Well, we've been working on it, haven't we?
I am so jealous of my husband because listen to this. When he
Oh.
says he's going to bed, he crawls in the bed and 2 minutes later, he's out. Totally, a bomb could go off and he would not hear it. Me, it takes me hours to fall asleep. Then when I fall asleep, I sleep maybe 2 hours. Then I'm awake and I go to the bathroom because I'm awake because I didn't need to go, but because I woke up, I take my butt to the bathroom and then I come crawl back into bed. Then that takes me 2 more hours to go to sleep. And it's this vicious little circle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I wish
Yep.
I really, to be honest, this staying awake at nighttime thing, I'm pretty sure that it's the reason I'm this way and have been this way for so very long is because when my son was born, I was a good sleeper before my son was born. I had already a daughter, and when you put her to bed at 8 o'clock at night, she would go to sleep, and she would sleep all night long. Once after we got past the 12th week, with Thomas would stop breathing in his sleep,
Oh,
and
that's got to put a lot of stress on a new mom.
yeah, and so I had to move him into my room. He didn't sleep with me. He slept in his own bed.
Right.
And I got where I would catnap sleep and you always got a warning before he was going to stop breathing. He would snore this ungodly loud noise. It's the weirdest sound that a baby can make. And then it would stop. And when you heard that stop, he wasn't breathing at all.
That had to be rough.
Have to go sit him up and tell him to breathe. And I did that for 6 years.
Wow.
And then one morning, I didn't hear him stop breathing, and I had to call an ambulance, and that was the most horrible experience, not just for me, but for him. And I had been telling the pediatrician, my son needs to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor because because his asthma was bad. Oh my God, it was as bad as mine. And I felt like something in here was causing a lot of his breathing trouble because of the way he would sound. And finally, when that happened with the ambulance, they sent it to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And they came out and they said, you know why your son stops breathing when he's sleeping? No, his adenoids were blocking 75% of his airway.
Wow.
Now, think of that as a child with asthma who has this little flap blocking his airway.
Yeah.
And
That's
after
scary.
he had the surgery and we got through the ICU and all the other things that happened because of the surgery, this child went from not being sick anymore to hardly being sick. But the damage had already been done. He ended up with a couple of learning disabilities. He's not. His disabilities has to do with understanding what he reads, things like that.
Okay.
So someone always has to do paperwork for him, to help him because he doesn't always understand what he's signing. So, but anyway, I think that habit of catnapping is why I still do it. And I have not figured out a way. The only time I ever sleep more than 4 hours is if I've gone through several days of no sleep, which that happens. And then I have what I call a crash and burn. And then I'll sleep 12 hours.
Yeah. Which isn't good either.
Nope. And some of y'all have seen that I've been burning the midnight oil on the internet for the last 4 days. It's because I can't sleep.
Well, yeah, we talked on that earlier.
Yeah, I've been burning it up, boy. I was online last night 7 hours. I didn't even know I was online 7 hours. And Nikolai's like, how did you not know you were on for 7 hours? I'm like, no. I was having a good time sewing over there.
I've done a 6-hour live stream before and I was exhausted.
Okay, let me see what else is being said in the chat.
Yeah.
Denise says she takes all kinds of meds to go to sleep. Melatonin, Tylenol PM, Zyrtec, NyQuil, and I bet none of them work, do they? And Sandy says,
yeah, I've never been able to get any of that stuff to work for me.
melatonin didn't work for me at all. It did like for a week,
No.
and then it was like the body adjusted to it, and it's like, no. Rita says, I have had severe insomnia since I was a young kid. Nope, has
Yep,
not
me
gotten
too.
better. So now I just do not sleep until I cannot stay awake. Then I go to sleep for 1 to 3 hours. Sherry
Yep.
says Lunesta works for her. I don't know what Lunesta is.
It's a sleeping assisted
Yeah, and that's probably one of those
medication.
things that
Isn't
I
it prescription?
It
probably
is prescription, yes.
And I'm probably trying to talk a doctor here into giving you sleep. Yeah, not happening. They're not going to do it. They give me a
Yeah,
hard
that
enough
one,
time just for the one opiate they give me.
that is
Tony
one.
says, I've taken 50 milligrams of amitriptyline since the early 90s for fibromyalgia. I get 7 to 8 hours of good sleep every night. REM sleep helps the fibro a lot. And then
My
Janice
mom has them.
Yeah. Janice says Jada had the same challenge at 3. Wow. I sat up with her for 6 months so that she could breathe. See, another mom that had the same problem. Katie, not sleeping triggered due to Nico being gone. Yep, that's part of it right now. And then Misty says, oh my God, Katie, my youngest was born with insidious inversus with extra cardiac and polysplenia. He would stop breathing and sometimes his lips would be blue. Scariest thing ever. Yes.
Oh, that does sound terrifying for any parent. Oh.
Yeah. And
And
then
that right there is a trauma that can cause
yeah,
mental anguish, you know?
yeah.
I mean, I don't
So
mean to
one thing
laugh
that,
about it or make light of it. I just mean that, those
yeah,
those are all things that can cause trauma, you know?
Yeah.
it's like it keeps adding to the trauma that you already had,
And so no one is immune.
Nope. And when you're as a mom, and you're handling this plus handling your household and handling the other two kids and all the
Yeah.
things that moms do, and you don't have, even though you're married to someone who should be helping who isn't helping, that just makes it even harder.
Oh, don't I know that? Yeah.
Rita says she has tried every possible sleep meds they make and none of them work. I get more benefit
No,
from
I,
caffeine.
I'm with you, Rita. I have just kind of given up on trying to find a sleep aid, and I did try some meditation for a little while. I don't know if that's helpful to you or not. I did try that at least to calm my brain down. It doesn't necessarily help me sleep, but it does help me get to a state of rest, which I think isn't just as important as getting
Yeah.
your brain to calm down. You may not actually be able to physically close your eyes and sleep and get the REM that you need, but at least you're helping your brain come down to a point of rest, which is what the meditation has helped me with, at least a little bit, even if it's only in short bursts. I do still consider that a little bit of a win because my brain's not swirling around. And then I do find that because now I am in that state of rest, it does make it a little bit easier for me to fall asleep, usually 30 to 45 minutes afterwards. So if you haven't already tried that, maybe give that a try. There's a ton of really quick videos online on how to do it. And actually, I have a Samsung phone. I don't know if you guys do or not, but I have a Samsung phone and it has Samsung Health, which is an app on the phone. It's a free app. You don't have to do anything with it. But there is an app in there that helps me track my sleep patterns. And one of the things that's in there is meditation. And so every night before bed, it plays a little 10-minute video and it tells me how to meditate. It's teaching me how, and I'm finding that to be very helpful. So if maybe that's something that is helpful to you, maybe it's not, maybe you've tried it, maybe it doesn't work, but maybe it's helpful to somebody else that's also watching too. So that's just a trick from me to you. Again, it doesn't always work. It doesn't work every night. But it is helping. It is something in my toolbox that I try to go to when I'm having a hard time.
I
So,
can tell you that
because like you, I have tried every medication under the sun and nothing seems to work for me with regards to sleep. It just keeps me up more. And so I'm trying other non-medicinal ways of doing it.
there is something that I do know that helps me, but I don't have access to it because it's illegal over here. But when I was in California, I wanted to test run an alternative for pain management, and so I went to a, a shop and sat down and talked to them about what it was I was looking for. And so they set me up with two different things. One was to help with pain, and the other one was to help with trying to relax me enough to sleep. And they told me, you should not take the whole dose, just take like a quarter of it and test it. To me, I found those two things more effective for both problems than anything I've ever taken in my life.
And
And
that's really great. My mom is she is an advocate for that particular
it works, but I can't.
medical assistance as well. We'll go with
Yeah,
that. I know it's not legal in all places, so you do have to be conscious of that. But it is usually medically available
yeah,
in
because you can
almost
get a
all states.
discount
So
when
that's
you
something that
dress
you
up
could
to
talk
get
to
up.
your doctor about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I brought it home with me, but when it runs out, I'm back to square one again. So
Um,
Right. For sure.
okay, I'm the reality therapist and I'm
Okay.
feeling really clueless. Are we talking about cannabis?
I
Yes.
wasn't going to say that on my live because might get my channel knocked off.
Darn it, drats, sorry, but
Well, that's
Was
why I
it
call it alternative
is it
pain management.
THC? Isn't that what it's called? THC?
Or CBD, yeah. I mean, because
TBD. Thank you.
yeah, CBD. But yeah,
CBD. Thank
I
you.
call it
CBD.
alternative because I don't know what the rules are on YouTube about it.
I have to be honest, Katie, I don't either. And so I'm with you. I try to be careful about kind of walking. Oh, no, you're fine. You're
The
fine.
bot
You're
probably
fine.
won't pick it up. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Yeah.
The most that can
Um,
happen is that your live has been demonetized
Myra,
because someone brought
Myra, be
up.
Don't worry about it, Myra.
Don't worry
My
about it.
mom is usually on my channel. I do a live stream on my channel once a month. It's called the After Dark Edition, where my mom is on the channel with me. That woman drops 4-letter words like they're going out of style. So
I've
I
been
can't
so
tell you.
good.
It's
I have been so good.
hilarious.
So don't worry about it. Whatever you're saying is probably not nearly as bad as she is. And I keep threatening her with YouTube copyright because I'm like, you need to stop. They're gonna kick me off. So don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Denise is asking a question that I forgot to ask you about. Way back at the beginning of the live, she had made a comment, and then you made a comment, and I don't remember exactly what you said. But her question was, I still need to know what I said that made Myra think I am triggered. I try to choose my words carefully when I chat. I don't know if you can remember what you said way back at the beginning of the live or not.
Oh, no, it wasn't specific to you, dear. It wasn't. It was just in general, if anyone, you had come in while we were talking about triggers. No, I didn't think that we were triggering you personally. It was just that was a good time to do a disclaimer that, if anyone does get triggered and, it's a negative for them. Yeah, no, it wasn't you personally. It was the generic you.
Wow.
So I apologize if that felt personal.
Because I didn't know
If she felt triggered, no, sorry, bad joke.
naughty girl.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We love you, Denise. We love you. I couldn't help it. Like, I hope you giggled.
Myra, wait a minute. Wait.
What?
I was trying to catch something. Oh, here it is. I have a question for Myra. What is the correlation between menopause, perimenopause, and depression and anxiety? And you're going to have to tell me what perimenopause is because I don't know what that is because I'm still menopausal. So go.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it perimenopause? Okay. All right. Wait a minute. Many females start their menstrual cycle between 10 and 12. There's a variance, but let's say between 10 and 12. And for the rest of your adult life, you have this wonderful monthly flow. Yeah. Unless you do something about it. Anyway, so then when you age and your body says, oh, we're too old to be dropping these eggs, then you go into, they say peri, but isn't that the same as pre?
I think that they're the same. I could
Yeah.
be. I'm obviously
Peri
not a
is-
medical professional, but that's where I'm
Peri
taking
is
it as.
pre.
Yeah.
You can be perimenopausal and not have a period for a year and think, woo, I'm in menopause. No more flow. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And then a year, 16 months later, have a full-blown regular menstrual cycle.
Yeah, that's me.
And that sucks to be you. I had a hysterectomy after I came off tamoxifen because I developed polyps, and they felt that would be the best thing for me would be to have a hysterectomy. And so I did, and it was a good thing I did because one of the polyps had cancer in it. So technically I have not only survived breast cancer, but I've survived adenocarcinoma brought about by the tamoxifen that got me through my first 5 years after cancer. So
Wow.
yeah, so just like when you go in, your hormones for starting your menstrual cycle are all out of whack. That's why preteens and teenage girls are so fun to live with. And that's why when it's that time of the month, everybody loves you so much because you're so nice, not usually, because your hormones are flipping around as they are supposed to do. We are fearfully and wonderfully made from my faith base, and it all works together and it's good. So then you're at the other end of life and you don't want any more children, but you're not ready to do a hysterectomy, and so the body slows it down, and then you're in perimenopause or you're in menopause, so those hormones decrease. And like, I certainly can't take hormone replacement therapy because of my type of cancer I had. So I get to just deal with it. But luckily, I never had hot flashes when I was on tamoxifen. A lot of people did, but I've never had one. Please don't hate me. Those of you going through your own individual summers. But yeah, that's, it's so wonderful being a woman. So wonderful being a woman because
Girls rule.
we just get all these extra things. Now, men do have their own hormonal issues.
They do, yes.
Lack of testosterone and when their prostate's acting up, God love the prostate. And I mean, men have their own issues too. So, but yeah, the answer is yes. The hormones go out of whack. And when you're pregnant, when I was first in school to become a mental health professional was around the time the woman drowned her babies in psychotic
I remember
postpartum depression.
Yes.
That was real big on the news. And so, of course, everybody in my class was like, oh, we want to do all our research papers on postpartum psychosis, that's really, really, really rare, but postpartum depression is not rare.
Okay? Oh, no, that is a very big thing. Yeah.
You're
very real thing.
You're dealing with lack of sleep just because you are, because that little precious baby, does little power naps all throughout the day. And people that say nap when they nap, oh yeah, get right, we've got laundry, we've got other children, we've got life. We want to take a bath, we want to get in the bathtub, right? So that's another real thing that people go through, and we want to check in with those new mamas, even if they're not a first-time mom. We want to stay checked in with those ladies because they need the help. There are really awesome programs. I was actually a Healthy Start program coordinator before I got into the mental health portion of my life, and that's working with prenatal through mothers prenatally through pregnancy, and then with their babies through age 3. Same with early Head Start. I was also a early Head Start family advocate.
Okay, there's some more comments here. First of all, I want to say that Quilting on Rock. She said where did it go? It moved. Hang on, let me find it.
That's probably one of the biggest frustrations as a content creator and trying to keep up with the chat is sometimes you scroll or the thing scrolls on you and you completely lose it and you're like, oh my gosh.
She said she was busy, and I think she said she made 5 bathrobes. Congratulations on I don't know where it's at. I've lost it now. But anyway, she said she made multiple bathrobes. That is so cool.
That is awesome.
I lost my chat.
Dang it. Where did it go? All right. Denise says, Myra, I still need to know. Oh, I already dealt with that one. Okay, sorry. And I keep seeing weird little invalid parameters showing up.
I saw that a couple of times.
Yeah, something I did to the bot last night. I must have messed something up, so I'll have to fix it. And I'll have to go back, try to figure it out. Okay, Patty G says, I use hemp oil in my homemade pain lotion. Very effective. She said that.
Okay. I did hear that can reduce inflammation.
Maxie said sorry, but she had to get into a safe place. Tornado warning. I hope you're okay.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, obviously your physical and mental health are way more important than our YouTube channel.
And then Janine, here's something from Janine. She says, my depression and anxiety started after a total hysterectomy. I grew up with a lot of trauma, but I was able to cope much better before the surgery. Here it is. Quilting on said, I just finished making 5 bathrobes out of towels for my family. Whoop, whoop. And
that is awesome.
Yep. And then Rita says, when I get triggered by something on YouTube, I simply have to go and find something else. Okay. Then Myra answers about the menopause. And then let me see here. There's
I
comments
can't
about
find my
needing hot
chat.
flashes, blah blah blah.
Just
Okay.
exit out of the video and then go back into it. It should show up. It's a lot of times it's hidden as a comments. Sometimes you gotta like scroll up. If you like drag it up, sometimes that works. Sometimes if you go to swipe to the left or the right. I know for me on my Samsung, if I swipe the comments box to the right, then that's when I get the chat. Or I'm sorry, to the left. Sometimes that
Postpartum
works.
depression makes sense because the hormones are out of whack. I suffered from postpartum depression after my third daughter, because I want you to picture this. I have Thomas in January of 1989. 12 weeks, a little under 12 weeks later, I have a tubal ligation to stop having babies. 12 weeks after that surgery, I'm pregnant with number 3. Then I spend the whole 9 months I'm pregnant with Kristen sick on my stomach to where I couldn't eat anything at all. The only thing I could do was drink milk. Developed an umbilical hernia because of the tubal ligation. Then I had her, and so her and Thomas are 13 months apart. So I not only had male hormones running through my system, then I had her hormones running through my system. So by the time I had her, and man, 3 months, like the first 3 months after I had her, it was like a train wreck. I was so depressed, and
Oh, yeah.
it was a big mess. I just, I didn't want to function at all. It was so bad. Thankfully, she was an easy baby, so there's that.
Well, that's good. Katie, I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna need to take off here soon. I'm just finishing up these pieces here and then I've got to take off. I'm actually got a couple other things here at home I still need to take care of. It's about dinner time here by me.
So it's close
I
to
am
your dinner
in,
when you were talking about leaving.
yeah, it's a little after 5 o'clock here my time. I'm in Northern Illinois, Central Time Zone. And I'm making some dinner and I gotta go get it out of the Instant Pot here soon. It's been cooking all
Okay, let's see
afternoon,
if
so.
anyone wants to ask you any more questions, and then you can talk
Yeah,
about.
I was just gonna kind of open that up and say, obviously I'm not an expert, as is the name of my channel. But if there's anything that anybody's got a specific question for me right now that I can answer for you, I'm happy to try to answer that real quick. If not, please feel free to reach out to me at any point in time via my email or through my channel. I'll be back again with Katie. Probably Katie will have to talk later on about when we're going to do
I think
episode number
I
3.
think yeah, I think we're doing one in it's May that we're going to be missing, right? Or is it April we're going to be missing?
No, it'll be in May. Yeah, May is
Okay,
going to be kind of a
okay.
crazy
So
month
May's
for
going to
me.
be out. Yeah. So yeah, we'll
Yeah,
be
but
doing
we'll
you.
do one again next month as well. But like we said at the beginning of the stream, just because don't limit the conversation to just this series. If you need to speak to somebody, if you want to talk to us, you want to talk to Myra, you want to talk to a professional, you want to remember what those resources are, just reach out to us any which way you can. Katie and I are very active on different social media platforms. We obviously have our own channels, so you can reach out to us that way. You can email me. Of course, I'm happy to answer emails. Please give me a little bit of grace. I don't always get to them right the second that you send them to me. Sometimes it takes a couple days,
And I
but I
also
do
have
get
an
to them,
email.
things like that. So
Yeah, and I posted my email in case you need help, or
exactly.
or you need to
So
talk.
are there any specific questions for me? I'm not seeing any in chat. I apologize if I missed anything, but I don't see anything.
Thank you for coming, Janice. Okay, so tell them a little bit about your channel and the days that you go live and stuff, so just refresh their memories.
Yeah, no, of course. Like I said before, I'm so not an expert. So I'm learning like everybody else. We make a lot of fun projects. That's kind of what I've been doing here is I've been working on prepping for a project that we're going to be working on here in a couple weeks. Excuse me. I go live on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Central Time every Sunday, unless I'm sick. Then I do one live stream during the week, and it's usually a different day of each week. It depends on what we're doing. Sometimes it's a Tuesday, sometimes it's a Wednesday, sometimes it's a Thursday. It just depends on what type of project we're working on. When I do Tuesdays, we do Forgive me, I can't remember at the moment. No. Wednesdays, we've been doing a Cotton Cuts Wild West Wednesday. So one Wednesday a month, we get together, we put together our Cotton Cuts Wild West PMQ. Thursdays, we do a block party video where we're putting together a new fun block from the Quilt Makers block, which I understand, Katie, you're also doing a series on that as well. So that's a lot of fun. So we do a different block every month for that.
It's
yeah, it was
interesting
just funny how that
both
happened. Like
of
I
us
didn't
know
even
the
know
book.
you were doing it.
Yeah,
You didn't know I was doing it. It was just
We
funny.
Yeah, neither one of us knew each other was doing that.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but I was just like, oh, that's kind of funny that we're both this random book that's been in print for the last 15 years, and we just now decided to pull it out together at the same time. It's just so weird. But anyway, so yeah, so we're doing that. So that's a lot of fun. And then of course every Sunday, of course, we're doing a different project. Now, I've told you guys before, I have ADD. So I can't work on the same thing every day because it makes me crazy and I get bored really easily. So that's the one fun thing about my channel is every week is different. We do work on the same projects, but they're in rotation. So then that way, you don't see the same project every week. So every week we pick up a different project and we're working on something different every week as we're slowly building up the project. So of course the projects take 3 times longer to get done because you're only working on them like once, maybe twice a month if we're lucky. But it's nice because you can kind of reset your brain and do something fun and different. So if you start to get frustrated with a project, it's okay because you're going to put it away and you're not going to see it again for another month anyway. That's the way I look at it. So that's kind of how I manage my own quilting anxiety, especially when it comes to specific projects, because I know I only have to work on this project today, and then I can put it back in the box and I can put it back over there and I don't have to look at it again for another month. So that's how I do things. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for letting me join you. Katie, thanks so much for joining me and for putting this platform together and allowing us to be able to chat and communicate. Myra, it has been such a pleasure to get to know you. I know we chatted a little bit on chat and through the thing before, but it has been such an honor, honestly, to be able to sit here and talk with you and just kind of tap into your brain of professionalism and that is a huge, I think that's just a great resource for our community and for myself. I have learned so much just in this one episode, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally going to use that. I'm totally going to use that. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciated that, and I'm really looking forward to next month because I want to tap into your brain a little bit more and learn some more about what you do and how you do it and the different tools. I think we started to touch on it a little bit this time, but I think we really need to. Katie, we should try and make sure that we focus on that next time is really giving people, let's give them some tips and tricks on how to identify if they think they're having a mental health problem. Because I think that that's a big question that we kind of touched on it very briefly, but I think that that's something that we need to dive into a little bit more is helping people understand that, is this just a bad day? Or is this really a mental health concern and I should talk to someone about it? Now, I said it before, I'm going to say it from my own personal experience that if you're asking yourself, should I see someone? Should I ask someone? The answer is a resounding, screaming yes. If you're asking yourself that question, the answer is yes. And so that's just my own experience. But I feel like there are certain things that we can help with other people on. Things like I said, being able to identify the difference between you're just having a bad day, which we're all allowed to do and we all do. Even people that suffer from anxiety, we just have a bad day. But, that happens. Or there's something more long-term to this. There's something that we need to dig deeper on and think about more. Mindfulness was another topic that we covered today that I think we should really dive into a little bit more. Help people, give them some tools to be more mindful. We've kind of broached the subjects a little bit and kind of given our own spin on it, but let's dive into that a little bit more. The 3 of us can kind of do a little bit of research on it and give our communities some tips and tricks on how to be more mindful, how to own your emotions and identify them and be able to say, okay, I'm having a moment here. Here's where I need to pull that toolbox out that we've talked about, that we've identified, and here's where I need to use my survival plan. Here's where I need to use those tools that I have. I think that will be really helpful to our community as well. So I'd really like to see if we can focus on that next month. If that's okay with you, Katie, I don't mean to take over.
That's a great idea because I
Katie does a great job of writing this stuff down and going back to it, and I have a horrible memory. So, like, as soon as I turn the computer off, I will have forgotten everything we talked about. So.
Yeah,
Katie, you're fantastic at it. I mean, I'd love for you to come back, but it's not mine.
Come back. Yes. Okay. Let me cover a couple things before everybody disappears on me. Don't forget
Yes, sorry.
Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is episode 3 of Sherry and I doing hand quilting. She's going to continue on with teaching us. So make sure you have your blocks ready to go. And you had a homework assignment, so I hope you've done your homework. And we'll see you Tuesday at 4 p.m. as well. And I'm gonna let Myra close out this.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm closing out. So 988 if you're in America, press 1 if you are a veteran or calling about a veteran. If you're in any other country, every country has a crisis line.
And
I
I have
know
posted
this.
the link in the channel.
That's right. Google it. Go to her link. Every country does. It's free. It's free. It's free. Thank you to everybody. The black cohash is something I've heard of before for hot flashes for ladies, and I forget who said that, but thank you so much for saying it. And what are you laughing at? And so I just want
something that Rita said in the chat. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
it says tools deal with a cat that is addicted to chips. Ha ha ha. I told him I am putting him into rehab for chip addiction.
Well, there you go. At least she kept her sense of humor.
Thanks for that, Rita. That was funny.
That's awesome. Thanks, Rita. So, guys, I just want you to have a wonderful week. Remember to breathe in, breathe out. And I don't remember who said it about, if it was Cynthia or who said it about the, breathing in the smell of the flower and blowing out the candles on the cake, which actually grosses me out. I never let my kids do that because I didn't like spit on cake. The OCO thing going on there, folks. But anyway, do breathe. And, sometimes if you find yourself just really having a moment, if you can just take 5 seconds and breathe in as hard as you can and stretch your neck and just breathe in and in until you don't think you can get any more air in, and hold it for just 1, 2, 3 and let it out as long as you can. Even just doing that once does good things for your body, y'all. It really does. And I don't do it often enough. I'm a horrible breather. I'm so glad that it's an autonomic thing. God knew I needed it. So
for sure. All right, ladies, I really do have to take off. I can hear my timer actually going off, so it's perfect timing.
Thank you, Danny, for coming, and I'll see you next month on the next get together.
Yes, I look forward to it. And thank you so much to everybody that was in chat today. I really appreciate all the wonderful comments and participation. You surprised us once again. Katie and I had no idea that this was going to go over as well as it has, and so we truly appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And even for those that are watching afterwards, we really appreciate you hanging out and you being with us. Again, reach out to us if you want us to talk to you. We're not experts, but we can try and help as best we can, or we can at least guide you to the places that you need to go to get the help you need, because there is help out there.
You're not alone. Since you brought that up,
there is help out there, and it doesn't cost you a thing to get it. It's completely
free. And also, if you're watching the replay and you do have questions, post those questions down in the comments section below this video, because I always answer every comment on every one of my videos. And if any's directed toward Danny's direction, I'll email them to her as well.
Absolutely. All right, ladies, I really got to take off. Love you both. Thank you so much. It was so great meeting you again, Myra. And thank you again to everybody else. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Lovely to get to know you more.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.
And to answer Misty's question, probably in a couple hours, because I'm going to be smart and go make food.
So are we getting off?
Yeah, I'm going to, well, you can stay there for a minute. Let me sign off. I'm going to sign off the live. Misty, probably later in a couple hours. Where are you? There you are. I need to figure out what I did to my bot, but I messed something up on my bot. Oops. Okay. end the live. All right, there we go. Done. All right. Okay.